eternal. They also say that uncaused dharmas are eternal, whereas dharmas resulting from causes and conditions are transitory. In the Mahayana, permanence, the nature of things, the true nature, the summit of existence and other synonyms of this type are called eternal dharmas, space and nirvana, as was said before in the chapter dedicated to the praise of the bodhisattva. In regard to the soul, time, direction and the subtle atom of the heretics, see also what has been said above. This is why we cannot speak of the existence of dharmas. If dharmas are non-existent, they are of two categories. I. Permanently non-existent, e. Non-existent following a cessation. A. If, having previously existed, they no longer exist now, or, if presently existing, they will not exist later, there is cessation. If that is so, then there is no longer cause or condition. If there is no longer any cause or condition, then anything can come from anything, or also, nothing comes from anything. And it is the same in the future. But if causes and conditions for sins and merits being suppressed, and if there is no longer any difference between the poor and the rich, between the noble and the humble, then one ends up in the unfortunate destinies and in the animal realms. B. If one claims that the dharmas are permanently non-existent, one misunderstands the Four Noble Truths of suffering, its origin, its cessation and the path to its cessation. If one suppresses the Four Truths, the jewel of the Dharma no longer exists. If the jewel of the Dharma no longer exists, the Eightfold Noble Path disappears. If the jewel of the Dharma and the jewel of the Sangha disappear, there is no longer the jewel of the Buddha. If that is so, the three jewels are destroyed. Besides, if all dharmas are really empty, there would be no sin or merit, no father or mother, no world or rituals, no good or evil. Good and evil would be confounded with a multiple succession of consequences. Everything would vanish, like visions in a dream. These are the faults to which one is exposed if one claims that dharmas are really non-existent. Who would believe that statement? If one claims that one sees dharmas to exist because of a mistake, then, when one sees one person, perhaps one is seeing two or three persons. 4. If dharmas are truly non-existent, by seeing them, one is committing a mistake. By not falling into views of existence and non-existence, one gains the middle path, the true nature of things. How can one know the truth? By complying with what has been identified and said by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the past, numerous as the sands of the Ganges. With what will be identified and said by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the future, numerous as the sands of the Ganges. With what is identified and said by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the present, numerous as the sands of the Ganges. If the mind of faith is great, one escapes from doubt and regret. If the power of the faith is great, one can grasp and adopt the Dharma. That is called dharmaksanti. Furthermore, by the power of rapture one hears speak of the true nature of the Dharmas with a gentle, tender and pure mind, and one incorporates the Dharma into one's mind. By the adhesion of faith, the mind penetrates deeply in the absence of doubt and regret. Why is that? Doubt and regret are the bonds of the desire realm. If they are heavy, there is no access to this gentleness and tenderness of the mind, which is called dharmaksanti. Finally, by the power of wisdom, one discovers in many ways that, in the face of all the dharmas, there is no dharma that can exist. Being able to endure and adopt this doctrine with no hesitation or regret constitutes dharmaksanti. The bodhisattva also says to himself, under the virulent action of ignorance, a worldly people attribute a contrary characteristic to all the dharmas in particular. They take what is impermanent to be permanent, that which is painful to be happy, that which is not a self to be a self, that which is empty to be real, that which is non-existent to be existent, that which is existent to be non-existent. In this way, they attribute contrary characteristics to all kinds of dharmas. To obtain the noble true wisdom, to destroy the poison of ignorance, to understand the true nature of dharmas, to acquire the wisdom of impermanence, suffering, emptiness and the non-self, then to reject it without being attached to it, and finally being able to endure such a doctrine, this is what is called dharmaksanti. Finally, the bodhisattva considers all dharmas as eternally empty from the very beginning and also actually empty. To believe and accept this doctrine is dharmaksanti. Question. Believing in original and eternal emptiness as well as actual emptiness is a wrong view. Why do you call that dharmaksanti? Answer. If the bodhisattva had in mind the absolute emptiness of dharmas by grasping at the nature and adhering to it in his mind, that would be a wrong view. But if he considers emptiness without subscribing to it or producing wrong view, that is dharmaksanti. A stanza says, by nature, dharmas are eternally empty. But the mind does not become attached to emptiness. To support such a doctrine is the major characteristic of the Buddhist path. The bodhisattva crosses over the threshold of wisdom in many ways. He considers the true nature of the dharmas. His mind experiences no pulling back or regret. He does not blindly follow the considerations he has made and they cause him no grief. He assures his own benefit and that of others. This is what is called dharmaksanti. This dharmaksanti is of three kinds. When he practices it in its pure form, the bodhisattva does not see the properties of patience, does not see himself, does not see those who are insulting him, does not play with the dharmas. Then this is pure dharmaksanti. For this reason, the Sutra says that the bodhisattva who dwells in the virtue of wisdom must fulfill the virtue of patience by not swaying in the wind and not withdrawing. What is this immobility and this absence of withdrawing? Not feeling hatred, not speaking wicked words. Physically, not doing evil. Mentally, not having doubt. The bodhisattva who understands the true nature of the virtue of wisdom does not see dharmas, for his mind is without opinions about them. When a man comes to insult him, torment him, poison him or strike him, he can endure it all. This is why he is said to dwell in the virtue of wisdom. He can fulfill the virtue of patience. End chapter 25.